Hi, Rep Van Scooter here, owner of Van Scooter Insurance Agency. Thanks for checking out our video blog. This week I'm talking to you about workers' compensation insurance. Now, pretty much most people know that if you own a business and you have employees, you're required to carry workers' compensation policy to cover your employees if they're injured while they're at work. Basically, the workers' compensation policy is going to cover their medical payments and any lost wages that they might have while they're not in work. And if they're permanently disabled, there'll be a benefit for that as well. Now, what most people don't realize is that if you are if your corporation has 2 or fewer corporate officers, that you're allowed to elect to exclude your corporate officers from coverage under your workers' compensation policy. So now if you have 3 or more, obviously you're required that everyone has to be included on that workers' compensation policy. But the question comes down to, should you include the corporate officers in your workers' compensation policy, or should you take that option and exclude them? So if you have 2 or fewer corporate officers, you have the option to exclude them. So should you is the question. Now, I must say that most of the business owners that I insured elect to exclude themselves from the workers' compensation policy. And it's merely a cost savings measure for them, because obviously if their salary isn't getting rated on the workers' comp policy, that the workers' comp premium is going to be lower. So now I don't necessarily agree with that. If you need the cost savings measure, it's one way to do it. But I think the benefit that you're going to get from the increased cost and the premium greatly outweighs that. So for example, I'm an insurance agent. I probably have one of the safest jobs there can be. I sit at a desk all day. I make phone calls. I'm in front of a computer. I do general office work. Seems like a pretty safe job, and it is, for the most part. The riskiest part for me is when I go to somebody's house for an appointment, or I drive to the office supply store, or I go to the bank to make a deposit. These are all things that I'm doing during my work day that if I get injured, if I'm in a car accident, the workers' compensation is going to kick in to pay my medical bills and also pay my lost wages as well on there. So that's the biggest thing that I see. So the question you have to ask yourself, is, and what I ask all my policy holders, my business owners, when we're writing a workers' comp policy, when we're going over this exclusion option for them, I say, pretty much, if you weren't able to work for a month, how would that affect you and your business? How would you pay for your medical bills if you were injured at work? Would your income change if you weren't able to go to work? What would happen if you became permanently disabled and you weren't able to return to work? How are you going to generate income for the remainder of your income earning years that you have? So I think someone needs to really sit down and weigh those questions and figure out what would that actually cost me for me to be injured and out of work for a month, or even permanently disabled and out of work for the remainder of your income earning years. So that's a huge cost. And so I think if they look at it from that perspective, and then they look at the increased premium the workers' compensation charges, if they're included in it, they'll realize that that's probably a pretty small number compared to the other, outweighing the benefits that the workers' comp provides to them. So if you would like more information about workers' compensation, or if you'd like us to review your workers' compensation and provide you with a no obligation quote, we'd be happy to do so. Give us a call at the number below, and we'd be happy to take care of you. And remember, Van Scooter Insurance Agency, don't be fooled by a name. We insure more than vans and scooters.